Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for part 2 of the Q&A, so let's go ahead and knock this out. Alright, first question. Howdy Jason. Thanks so much for all you provide. I truly appreciate your info. I'm hoping you can provide some feedback on my current program. I have been running Stronglifts 5x5 for about 5 months, with 2x5 weighted chin-ups, weighted dips, weighted sit-ups, and barbell hip thrusts for both A and B workouts. I'm very pleased with my upper body development and strength, but my squat has progressed slower than I like. So since January 1st, I've been training 5 days a week, as follows in an effort to bring up my squat, and it seems to be helping. 3x5 squat, 1x5 for bench press, Pendley Row overhead press, deadlift weighted chins, blah blah blah. I've also added 1x5 stiff leg deadlifts. My rest and nutrition are in check, and I'm feeling great overall. In your opinion, is it sustainable for a 6-week run? I intend to get back to the typical Stronglifts 5x5 in mid-February. Sorry for the long post, but I hope you lend me your thoughts. Thanks a ton. And here's what I'm going to say. I don't think you need to be doing the frequency like that. That's not what I would recommend. You should be fine as a novice lifter focusing on squats 3 days a week. Here's what I'm going to recommend. You feel like your upper body has progressed really well. Keep in mind, you've added chin-ups and dips every workout, right? You need to look at how many upper body exercises. That's 4 upper body exercises every workout. With progressive overload. Of course, your upper body has excelled faster than your squats. Now, I don't know what your numbers look like specifically, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say, you know, they're probably pretty decent. So here's what I would say. Instead of doing this 5 day a week, go back to the normal program. Go back to the normal program. Make sure your breaks are long between your squats. Go ahead and do 3 days a week. Cut all the extraneous stuff out and cut the volume back. In other words, all your upper body lifts, come in and only do one real work set. You'll be able to progress on them still. It's just going to be much, much slower. So come in and do one set of your big upper body lifts. Go ahead and return to your normal squat on the 5x5, but since most of your gym time is going to be dedicated to the squat, space those breaks out. Take longer breaks so that you can work heavier on every set. And essentially over 50% of your gym time is now going to be dedicated to just a squat. Do that for 6 weeks with only one work set of all the upper body lifts, and focus really heavy on the squat, as long a breaks as you need to make sure that you finish the squat. And this way you specialize in the squat for a little while. I promise you in 6 weeks, you'll be balanced back out. Everything will be perfect. You'll be moving ahead just like you want. Give that a try instead of the 5 day a week thing. Trust me on this. You're still a novice. You don't need to be lifting 5 days a week. It's not really in your best interest at this point. All right, next question. Hey Jason, was wondering if you could cover how you feel about the IPF moving away from wilks and using their own formula for their lifters. It seems to get rid of the idea of pound for pound strength in favor of a more fair system. I disagree with it, but would like to hear your thoughts. Powerlifting has never used a focus on pound for pound strength, so wilks isn't pound for pound, right? Wilks is not pound for pound. It is still used as a comparative analysis for relative strength, and wilks has problems, but it's a decent system. As far as the IPF goes, it was my understanding that the new system was even more in favor of it. Like I've heard a lot of people complain that the super heavyweights are really being screwed on the formula. I can't seem to get a clear picture of what the formula is doing. I looked into it a while back, a week or so ago, when a lot of people were talking about it, and I can't really find a clear indicator of exactly what they're doing with the formula. I really am not sure what they're doing exactly, but it's my understanding that it actually is handicapping the heaviest weight guys a little bit, is what I've heard from the rumors. So I don't know what to say on that, but what you need to remember with any of these systems, powerlifting has never done pound for pound, right? I don't know who told you that. Pound for pound strength isn't even done in the Wilks formula. Yeah, it gives you relative strength, but we all know that pound for pound actually favors the lightest lifters and the shortest guys. In other words, a guy who's 5'1" will be a monster on pound for pound strength every single time, and any guy over 6 foot is going to be total garbage. They're going to be total garbage no matter how many drugs they use, no matter how hard they train. If you're 6'3", you're going to be garbage on pound for pound, right? then if you're 5'1", you're going to be awesome at pound for pound within 1 to 2 years of hard training, right? Every single time. So no one uses pound for pound in strength sports. What we do have, though, are formulas for relative strength, and I think people need to remember that. But honestly, I think the IPF, from what I could see, they're not really showing clearly what they're doing with the new formula yet. I could be wrong. You could educate me on it. You seem to know more about it than me. Maybe you could fill me in with some proper links over on my Facebook page. All right, next question. Also, one more question. I guess it's someone who's asked several questions. Brother, I don't actually notice the names usually unless it stands out. You don't have to worry about saying also. I just go by the questions down the row. My knees always crack when I squat. Like, no exaggeration, my knee crack every single time. Should I keep squatting? I don't really feel pain when my knees crack. This is just nitrogen bubbles. It's nitrogen bubbles in your joints. This happens to everyone from time to time. For some people, you will have this for your entire training career. It's not a big deal. It's not linked to injuries. It's not something that you should be overly concerned about, right? It really isn't. You know, and here's what I would say with it. Even if it was something that you were slightly concerned about, here's what you need to remember with this stuff. What's your other option? To just quit training? I mean, what are you going to do? Not squat? What are you going to do? Not train your legs? Have you seen the health impacts of that in the long term? People who train their legs and have really strong legs have everything from lower rates of Alzheimer's, lower rates of osteoporosis, cancer, diabetes, heart disease. Training your legs and getting strong legs is the single best thing you can do for your health, barring like quitting smoking cigarettes and stuff like that. As far as your actual fitness stuff goes, though, as far as your overall long-term health and fitness, training your legs is the best thing you could do. So here's a question I would ask you. Even if you were concerned that there was a minor problem with it, if it's a crackling happening in there, there's nothing you could do about it. So your only option would be to not train your legs and then suffer all of those other health effects, right? Higher rates of diabetes, cancer, Alzheimer's. Do you see the problem there? This isn't really an option. You know, and the difference between that and something like knee wraps or dangerous exercises is that those can be avoided and replaced with safer alternatives. But as far as that goes, it crackling in your knees, it is safe, though. It's just nitrogen bubbles in there. It's not going to hurt you. It's not going to hurt you. It's perfectly fine. It's something a lot of coaches and physiologists are aware of, and it does freak people out until they get used to it, and eventually you won't notice it anymore. It'll be just fine. Again, as long as there's no pain. Now, if there's pain, you need to go consult your doctor. All right, next question. Hey, Jason, my bench has stalled. I've been doing 5x5 on bench 2 times a week. Should I increase my frequency to 3 times a week, doing maybe 4 sets on one day and 3 on the other 2 days, maintaining volume, but increasing frequency? Thanks. No, man. 5x5 bench, I don't know how advanced you are. If you're a really advanced lifter, we might discuss a very bench-specific program. But here's what I'm going to say. 5x5 is relatively high volume. I know the bodybuilders are going to freak out and say, no, it's not. That's really low. That's heavy. No, 5x5 is a lot of volume with moderate weight. It really is. Especially if you're talking 5 work sets across. Your bench is stalled. You might need to go ahead and turn some of that volume and hypertrophy into a little bit more peak strength. Here's what I might recommend. You probably need to do a phase where you build to a peak set. Like maybe you do 3x5 with nice long breaks and add weight. In fact, I might even recommend that you do that. Do that for, a 6-week phase. And then go ahead and start working towards building peak sets to where if you do your 5x5, you ramp it until you build to a peak 5-rep max, right? That might be worth doing. Or something to where you build to a 3-rep max. Now, building to a 3-rep max, that's going to depend on how advanced you are. If you're benching 225 for 5 or less, in other words, your 5-rep max is 225 or lower probably, I'm going to say don't build to a max triple. Go ahead and run a program where you build to a max 5-rep set and see if you can peak that strength out a little bit. But the other thing I would ask is, are you taking long enough breaks between your sets of bench? Are you getting enough calories? Are you gaining muscle? Are you getting enough sleep? Those are all the questions you need to address first. All right, address those first. Make sure those things are on point. And if you've addressed them and you know they're on point, you need to work on adding a little more weight with a little less total volume, which means maybe going to 3x5 for a little while, and then if you need to, build to a system to where you build to a peak 5-rep set. In other words, you can go ahead and still do a 5x5, but your first 4 sets are lighter to where you add weight. Like, let's say your 5-rep max is around 225. You might actually want to go as low as, 185 for a set, 195 for a set, 205 for a set, 215 for a set, and then try to hit that 225 peak. Something like that, to where you can hopefully add about 10 pounds to what you're using for your heaviest 5-rep set than what you've been using. And so a system like that can help a lot too. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time in part 3.